your incredibly generous hosts this evening, Valentine and Susie. Eugenie dropped into conversation a couple of weeks ago. I was really horrified when I heard this, Susie. Yeah, this is really bad. She said, this came at the end of a long line of bows preceding me, and Susie had said to her, whatever you do, don't bring home any men who are over 40, divorced or with dependents. So here I am, and she's still smiling. So. Thank God I didn't know that when I first came. Eugenie and I met 4.5 years ago. Well, actually, we almost met 4.5 years ago at the wedding of our dear friends Paul and Lucy. I say almost because Eugenie ate so much wedding cake in a Bridget Jones moment of despair, and I drank so many cocktails in a moment of over-enthusiastic bachelorism that we both passed out like beach whales, and in Eugenie's case rather flatulently by the She told me about that. We met again soon afterwards, and on our first date, despite Eugenie sharing stories of her former life as an Irish rock folk band groupie, chucking her panties at the likes of Shane McGowan and that filthy McNasties, Amanda will remember all of that. We hit it off rather fabulously. Actually, Eugenie's groupie past turned out to be sound preparation for her move into a fairly feral situation at the boys of my home in Elgin Crescent. Orlando's school chums were forbidden to sleep over with him at my place ever again after one accidental all-night 8-year-old party, which Orlando will remember, and for which I'm not sure I forgive in the end. And Sholto's chickens had colonised our kitchen. Eugenie took all of this in her stride, and with calm determination, very gently began to impose some order in the household. There was absolutely no doubt in my mind that very soon after meeting Eugenie that she was the gal for me, but as you heard from Valentine, in the absence of a formal proposal, he was growing increasingly concerned about my intentions. I'm now going to give you my version of the event, which actually differ rather from Valentine's. It kind of kicked off actually one evening after a dinner, and it was Susie's birthday, and Henry was there, and Valentine was there, and Eugenie's great friend Al was there. As we were walking back from the restaurant, we passed a pregnancy dress shop, and they all paused outside this dress shop and started oohing and ahhing. And I thought, aha, something going on here. I think I better give Valentine a call, which I did, and suggested that we meet for lunch at the Carlton Club, in fact. And Valentine began lunch, and this is where our stories differ rather, and he told me that he'd boarded the train in Hazelmere and met with an old commuter chum of his who had commented how Valentine was looking increasingly like a walrus as the hair sprouting out of his ears and nostrils. I think you might all be believing my story so far. Took a further grip. Told me that this had got him thinking and prompted him to write me a poem, which he then handed to me on a sheet of yellow paper. And you all know what he read, because that gets the same. The time has come, the war said, to talk of many things, of London flats and wedding hats and sparkling diamond rings. So you can imagine how I felt having just read this poem. And as I finished it, and I was looking down at my soup, he said, "Do you get me?" Which of course I did. But I was buggered if I was going to give anything away. So, things cracked on at quite a pace after that. Eugenie moved into Elgin Crescent, and a few months later Stanley was born, our gorgeous little fellow, and still no proposal. Valentine and I met for lunch again. And this time actually we met here at the Salve Club, and we sat down next door, and as we sat down, Valentine handed me another sheet of yellow paper. So I kind of knew what was coming. And this one he called A Legitimate Ode. And he hasn't told you this one, so I shall read it out to you. We're all hoping you're going eloping with Reg office surprise, making marital ties, then cut a dash with a big party bash. You know it makes sense to come off the fence. So Stanley the lad has a wed mum and dad. I mean, hats off, I mean, it's pretty good. So I rather regret not having responded at the time, but my poetic skills were rather pale in comparison. Anyway, I want to respond now very, very briefly. So, Walrus, my time has come to briefly give you the reason for why we took the time we did over the course of many a season. When artists paint a masterpiece, they never rush or hurry. We always knew this day would come. You didn't have to worry. So that was the story. I suppose finally, I just want to say a word about my wife. There she is, my gorgeous wife. There are many things that come to my mind when I think about Eugenie, and far too many to mention now. One of them, actually, is fish fingers and peas and a splash of ketchup, which is Eugenie's signature dish. So clearly not one of the foundation stones of our marriage. But I also think that the only person I know, and there might be a few of Eugenie's authors out there who will recognise this, who can tell you something needs an awful lot more work or isn't really quite what it needs to be, and still make you feel really good about yourself. I think that's an incredible talent and reflects the kindness that is at the very heart of Eugenie. I think of an amazing stepmother to my two big boys, Orlando and Sholto. I think of our Friday evening kickoffs, as you've heard before. You must think Eugenie is an alcoholic at this rate, but around 7:15 on a Friday evening is champagne cocktail time. And that's pretty much generally how our weekends begin. And I also think of the person that I have more fun with than anyone else I know, and it makes me feel very, very happy. Don't worry, Miguel, his phones are going off in his pocket. So I'd like to just raise a glass to my very, very beautiful wife, and Eugenie, to you. And now, very finally, before handing